It's 17:30 GMT. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Umaru Sanda Amado. Tonight I'm here with
Hawa Idrisu Mustafa.
And coming up over the next 90 minutes.
The government is being formed, ministers will be put in place.
My secretary, executive secretary, to write to the IGP to give us a report on the status of investigations into these killings.
President John Dramani Mahama directs Inspector General of Police IGP to investigate the death of 8 persons in election-related violence in 2020. We'll be hearing more on what exactly the president's proposals are and ask the persons who've been calling for the investigation for comments. Also coming up on Eyewitness News, we take you to Cantonment, where we are told that staff of the National Development Authority, Northern Development Authority, offices in Cantonment returned to work this morning to find a full wall erected on their land. The team, that's the Operation Recover All Loot officials, have been touring the area to understand exactly the situation. We'll hear from our reporter, plus the officials in charge of the NDA. And later on Eyewitness News,
the government is being formed, ministers will be put in place, other officials will be appointed, and as I promised, we'll have a full cabinet within 14 days.
So that's the promise from John Dramani Mahama in an apparent response to those who are saying that the appointment is coming in piecemeal. He says in 14 days he would have given us a full complement of his ministerial list and members of his cabinet. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on this and many other stories on Eyewitness News. And in business,
Economic watchers urge collaborative approach from Finance Minister Designate to help steer economy toward stability.
That's in 50 minutes from the Citi Business Desk. Eyewitness News is live across the country on a number of affiliate stations. We are also on citinewsroom.com. That's our website. We're live on Facebook. We are also live on YouTube. Just look for Citi FM. We are also on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can follow the discourse there and join the conversation using the hashtag Eyewitness News. You can send me a message on 0549 986 996. That's a WhatsApp number, 0549 986 996. You can also go on Twitter, now known as X, and send me a message mentioning me at Umaru Sanda or at Citi973. If you're heading out of Accra and wondering how you can keep listening to Eyewitness News, let me give you a list of stations that bring you this broadcast across the country. In the Western region, we are in Takrady on Ajinpa 100.7 FM, also Beach 105.5 FM. In Bono region, we are on Greener 95.9 FM. In Sunyani, in Ashanti region, we are in Kawie on Ajinpa 99.9 FM. In the Volta region, we are in Hohwe on Heritage 107.3 FM. We are also in Sogakope on Freedom 88.1 FM. In the Northern region, we are in Saboba on Radio Gaki 88.3 FM. We are in Upper East in Garu on Quality 88.7 FM. We are in the Northeast region on Nobia 98.1 FM in Nalerigu. This is Eyewitness News broadcasting from our studios here in Accra, Ghana. My name is Umaru Sanda, and I'm doing this tonight with Hawa Idrisu. We start off with the President, John Dramani Mahama.
Well, President John Dramani Mahama has directed the Inspector General of Police to begin immediate investigations into the death related to the 2020 and 2024 general elections. John Mahama expressed deep concern over the violence during the election period and called for accountability. Speaking at the National Muslim Prayer and Thanksgiving event in Accra earlier today, the President urged the IGP to ensure that those responsible for the killings are identified and brought to justice.
Even though this election passed on peacefully, we must recognize that a few of our citizens lost their lives. My understanding is almost 5 of our citizens were killed in the process of the election. This is not the first time. In 2020, we know that 8 of our citizens were killed. If these continue and justice is not served, then what it does is it breeds impunity. And that's why, as a party, we have said that we must investigate and find out what led to these killings. so that we can take action so that it don't happen again. So I've asked my secretary, executive secretary, to write to the IGP to give us a report on the status of investigations into these killings. Justice must be done, and we also will ask the Attorney General when he takes office to determine fair and adequate compensation for the families of those who have lost their lives.
Now, that was the President, John Dramani Mahama.
This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are coming to you from our studios in Accra. Let me go on the phone line and speak to a number of people who have been, a representative of a group of people that have been asking for investigation, whether 4 years on, it is coming a little too late or better late than never. Franklin Kujo is president of Imani Africa. His group, Imani Africa, is part of a group of CSOs that issued a statement asking the police to probe the election-related violence without fear or favor. If you go to our website, citinewsroom.com, December 31, 2020, story by Marian Ansan of Citi Newsroom. At the time, police must probe election-related violence without fear or favor, CSOs. The story says a group of civil society organizations has called on the police service to fast-track investigations into acts of violence during the recently held general elections. The group is dissatisfied that, quote, few arrests and prosecutions have been made in relation to election-related violence. The 2020 election was marked by military personnel policing urban areas and some polling centers. At least 7 persons died in election-related violence during the polls. The group, in a statement, indicated that the loss of lives had not been accounted for by the police. Now, these groups include Civic Forum Initiative, Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEC, Center for Democratic Development, CDD, Media Foundation for West Africa, MFWA, NOSAC, the ACT Foundation, Ghana Integrity Initiative, Citizens Movements Against Corruption, Imani Africa, Star Ghana Foundation, among others. So let's speak to Franklin Kujo, he's president of Imani. Franklin, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to you, my brother.
It's good to speak to you too. I mean, I'm just reading the statement, 31st December 2020, 4 years ago. Finally, we are hearing of some action from the president. He's asking the Inspector General of Police to first of all bring a report to his office on the update and also carry out the investigation. And the statement that we have seen, which was signed by his secretary, further says that there should be regular updates to the public, and he also talks about possible compensation to the family members when the new Attorney General is eventually sworn into office. What do you make of this?
Oh, what words do I have to? I'm even looking for the adjectives. Isn't this humane? Isn't it respectful? Isn't it fairness? Isn't it justice? These are the antithesis, the very antithesis to these words I've used, these adjectives I've used. Callousness. If callousness is wickedness, disrespect, dishonor, and all the things that people disrespect. That's what characterizes Akufo-Addo's. They never respected the names of those people who died. In fact, I was just looking for the names, so that I mentioned them, so that people do not forget the names. About 8 of them. I'm still looking for the names, and I'll put it out on my Facebook shortly. It is unconscionable to think that you have a so-called democratic dispensation where people are killed because of the recklessness of the Electoral Commission to start the so-called collation centers, which was advised against. And people died. They never saw any. There was no candor. There was no honor. There was no respect for the dead. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We never had anything. Not at all. And these people could sleep at night. Really? Well, look. This, John, I mean, clearly speaking, this is exactly what you need in a leader. To think that he's even thinking about this person who died in 2020. Right? That is humane.
It's just a directive to investigate. In the past, we've seen lots of directives given or plans to do something that never gets done. You are optimistic that this one will be done?
Well, the previous administration this whole thing happened. How many times did you hear the president even update you? In the State of the Nation, nothing. You didn't hear anything. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I think he spoke about it just once, Scrappo said. Just like the Galamsey thing. The guy just didn't bother or care about anybody, really. And so, Charlie, for me, I say that even this act alone, it brings peace. It brings honor to the people who have lost life, whose families have lost life. You think it has no impact? Even just this one alone. A whole executive secretary, the president, director, ITP, give me the status of this investigation. Let us know what compensation will be paid. Did you hear any of these things during the last administration?
In fact, I just wanted to mention, in addition,
all wicked people.
I wanted to mention in addition that the letter from the executive secretary to the president did not only mention 2020, it also mentioned violence in 2024, the people who may have lost their lives or have been maimed.
Yes.
So,
it's forward looking. So it tells you that, of course, it's all encompassing, so that they will not say, oh, you want to look into the affairs of 2020. But even then, why not? Why not? Charlie, it's as clear as daylight. I mean, you can do everything you want, but don't dishonor people's names and their lives. Yeah, you can take over money, you can do all the nasty things you did, but please, when people are dead, honor them. It is not fair that you want a statue to be erected in your name, but you don't even honor the dead that were killed because of the recklessness of one of your institutions, whatever.
My attention has just been drawn to a publication. So there's been a court order, somewhere last year, September that is, where the court ordered 150,000 cedis to be paid as compensation to 6 victims of the Techiman election violence. Does that not suffice as a solution to the problems of 2020?
I did receive it. Do you know what has happened? What about the 150,000 for what? For each of the families? Yeah, I think I heard something like that. But what next? Did these people receive it? Were they even honored? You see, and look, I'll talk with President Mahama. If it goes ahead, if we find where these persons have been buried, honor them properly. Honor them properly. They are not just, they are names to these bodies. The way we treat people is it's not fair. It's not fair. And I'm so disappointed. Anyway, why should I be? I really am not any longer. But Charlie, this is an act of, it's humane, as I said. It is fair, it is justiciable, or whatever word it is. It is forward-looking. It's healing enough. That's all there is. That's all I can say.
Franklin, it's early days yet, but there's a saying that a good day is usually seen in the morning. How is John Mahama's morning looking like for you? Or what are you seeing in John Mahama's morning that may suggest how his day would look like?
Look at the other directive that came, even though we need to also have some clarity. That directive that came that said the government has not given any contract to anybody to go and print or design all these the presidential photos or whatever that you see in offices. I think the question though we should be asking, I'm sure you've already asked that question, does it mean institutions can do that? Well, hell no, they shouldn't. But that directive alone, it's so huge because it tells you clearly that, hey, we are not doing those things that happened recently, that everybody for it, so everybody just do anything and then another do. No, nobody is doing that. This is centralized. Nobody has given the contract. If anybody comes to any ministry and says they want to do, they say, hey, well, there's a directive. If you want, take this picture. You can be looking at it all the time, but nobody will print anything. That's classic leadership, and I'm happy that of course he's not novice. He's been there before. We hope that we hear more of these things, and of course his appointments as well. I think
you're sounding very optimistic, but I also remember hosting you in 2016, 2015 on the big issue. You were very critical of this same John Mahama. What has changed?
Oh no, but I was critical of John Mahama because there were things that we didn't expect him to do. That's 2016, isn't it? You can go back in time and find out that when he started, with the same things we said, we drove high hopes. I wrote a piece in the Africa report nicely addressing him. Oh, he'll do well, he'll do this. But of course, there were challenges and we need to criticize. I mean, we are not perennial lamentators, but clearly speaking, for us, we are there. Whether you do well, we'll praise you. If you don't do well, we tell you that what you've actually done is wrong. So Nothing has changed. What has changed now is that there's a man who's been given a second chance, who doesn't want to waste the second chance at all, and he started on the right note. I hope it continues, really.
You're also positive about the appointments that he's making.
Oh, I wasn't.
Even though they say it's in thoughts.
So it's in what?
Piecemeal. It's just 3.
Oh, yeah, but my good friend opinion knows that the president said he will do certain things within a particular number of days. So, and don't forget, he's been there before, so he knows what he's doing. So I think let's wait for the days to run. If it is the case that he had not announced all these ministers as the Constitution allows, and then the appointment reviews were taking longer, then that's when you have to complain. I think my good friend opinion it's not everything he needs to talk about. I think he should rather prepare his notes and questions to ask these nominees who I know are his friends. So that's just for the sideshow. I don't think announcing them in thought or in whatever really is a problem. As long as he says he'll do everything within 14 days, let's allow him to do that.
Very well.
Right.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. We'll be here together to watch, and let's hope that things be better. Thank you, Franklin, for speaking to us.
Pleasure.
That's Franklin Kujo, he's president of Imani Africa. And talking about the piecemeal appointments, how we have a response done to it?
Very well. Now, the president addressed growing concerns over what some have described as thought approach to his ministerial appointment. In response, he assured of unveiling his full cabinet within the next 14 days.
Many people have said it is the same thing the MPP did when they came in 2017. And that's why Ghanaians have voted them out. We must not copy the mistakes that they made. And so I plead with our supporters, let us do things in an orderly manner. The government is being formed, ministers will be put in place, other officials will be appointed, and as I promised, we'll have our full cabinet within 14 days. And so we'll have ministers in charge, and if you have any issues, you can go to our ministers and resolve. So please, let's exercise restraint.
That was President John Dramani Mahama.
How do you know what is thoughts?
Sandra, I do.
You do?
Yes.
What is thoughts? People are wondering, people are sending messages. Say, what is thoughts?
Also more.
More than.
Cup na.
In your cup. Glass.
Well, it's a cup.
No,
literally.
Cup is for it's glass.
Okay, small glasses. Yeah. Other people they take shots.
So
Charles has been.
But what do they use to pour the thought? What liquid do they put inside?
Unless you ask Charles.
Ask
Charles.
One thought. It's really. I think that's where the name is coming from. So the president was speaking at
the National Muslim Prayer and Thanksgiving service at the National Mosque here at Kanda in Accra.
Now, he went there not alone. He went there with a number of members of the NDC.
Yes, please. Let's hear from the national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esedu Nkete, who also criticized what he says were efforts to introduce religious and tribal divisions into the just-ended election, saying they ultimately failed.
There were attempts in the early part of the campaigning to make the election look like we are going to vote for people who are aligned to our religion. I think at some rallies, I did indicate that will be a very dangerous precedent for the country, because the Constitution has established the state of Ghana to be a secular state. And so the responsibility of leadership of the country is to create conditions where each and every citizen will be able to practice their faith, will be given equal treatment, will be given the opportunity to take advantage of anything that the state of Ghana can offer without looking at their religion, their language, or the dressing they put on.
National Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esiedu Nketiah, now speaking at the same event. Tamale South Member of Parliament Haruna Idrisu also hinted at plans to submit recommendations regarding the controversial anti-gay bill to President John Dramani Mahama, while he refrained from disclosing specific details of the proposed recommendations. He expressed confidence that the suggestions would align with national interest to shape the bill.
He will solidify religious tolerance and coexistence in our country, himself a Christian, but to an epitome of the tolerance and coexistence, and to assure the Muslim Ummah that he will do and he will be fair to all manner of persons, regardless of your religious faith. I have some ideas on LGBTQ, but I'm yet to share it with the President as to how he can re-own the bill and get national consensus around it and consistent with the laws of Ghana and the Constitution. There is a way to deal with it. But to make a comment here would mean that I'm reducing it to a religious matter, but it's certainly a social cultural problem for our country that collectively we will resolve to preserve our values as a people. Today, President Mahama is here at the National Mosque, not a cathedral in a way, at the National Mosque. So many of you must be questioning how was this constructed, and maybe you could learn better example how a cathedral could be constructed. Probably the President can make an appeal to every church that every other 3 months or 1 month church offering should be dedicated in supporting the construction and completion of a cathedral, if that is defined as a need of the Christian group of our country. But President Mohammed's presence here today is to thank the Muslim leadership, the National Chief Imam, and the leadership of the entire Muslim community in Ghana for praying and for God accepting their prayers and his prayers. That today we all can see Hail the President of the Republic of Ghana thanks to their prayers. So,
Tamale South Member of Parliament Haruna Idrisu.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Where the party there today?
Make the holidays unforgettable. Treat your family and friends to a celebration at the African Regent Hotel. Join us daily to enjoy delightful welcome drinks, mouth-watering delicacies, and soothing melodies in a relaxed atmosphere throughout the festive season. All at unbeatable offers. Plus, take advantage of our special holiday accommodations for a complete getaway experience. Come for unforgettable performances this and every Friday at Zong inside the African Regent Hotel from 6 p.m. If you're in need of a modern equipped space for conferences, meetings, events,
Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. My name is Umaru Sandamado and I'm here with Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. This afternoon, the Citi Newsroom received a very unusual call. The man who picked the call is Charles Kumi. He's joined me in the studio, or he's with the Citi Newsroom. Charles, you're welcome.
Thank you, Sander.
What was the call about?
So, this call came from the Northern Development Authority.
People who work there? Or
yeah, people who work there.
And they said what?
Distressed workers of the authority who were anxious about something that was happening at their liaison office here in Accra at Cantonment. So just opposite the American Embassy is that office. The report was that they felt that somebody was encroaching upon the property of the authority. So this is a 1.73 acre land on which this office is situated. And this gentleman who spoke to me, he is the Director of Infrastructure of the Northern Development Authority, Dr. Emmanuel Abere Inga. Yeah, I hope I got that name right.
Yes.
Now, the report is that on this 1.73 acre land, they say they have this neighbor, a female, who came to the authority a few months ago and asked for them to give her access to her property. So they agreed, and just a small portion was, allotted to her so that she can...
Thoroughfare.
Yes.
So the road.
So they built a small wall, but just after the elections on Monday, they realized that some people had come there with equipment and built about 100-meter wall very deep into the this land for the NDA. So about 0.3 acres of the land has now been walled off away from the NDA itself. They don't even have access to this portion that has now been walled off since Monday.
Okay, so it happened Monday, not overnight. The wall didn't come up overnight.
Yes, so it happened Sunday evening, Monday.
So they erected a full wall?
Yeah, a full wall, about 100 meters.
Plastered it?
Yes, and painted the half that goes into the office of the NDA.
Okay. So you went there?
I saw this wall. They don't even have access to this portion that has now been cut off. So they said their septic tank is located in that enclave now. It used to be their car park. Now they don't have any space to park their cars.
So just try and paint the picture. So the NDA compound was divided.
Yes, it's now
part of the NDA compound was taken away.
Has now been taken away
by a barrier.
Yes, by a wall.
A Donald Trump kind of wall.
That has now been erected. They don't know who put up this very wall. Mr. Bayirenga told me that he had engaged his superiors. So he's a director of infrastructure. So if he's talking about superiors, then senior people in management. But they have assured them that their property is theirs, has not been sold. But they do have their suspicions for the reason why they called us to come and have a look at the situation. Let me also mention that while we were there, we saw members of the oral committee that was set up by President Mahama to, gather information on corruption.
All of them, all 5 of them?
Yes, the chairman Okujeto Ablakwa, former Auditor General Domelevo was there, Raymond Acha was there, COP retired Kofi Boache. Even heard COP Kofi Boache, talk about pulling down the structures, retired police officer. And then also lawyer Martin Prebu was also there. So all of them came to have a look at the situation because just like us, they also received a tip of that somebody was encroaching on the lands of the NDA.
So when you went there, you saw the workers?
No, the workers of NDA.
Yes, you saw them.
Yes.
And they said they didn't know where this came from.
No, they have no idea who built this wall.
Please stay in the studio. I want to do a quick interview. The CEO of the Northern Development Authority is Sule Sambien. He's joined us on the line. Sir, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Omar Sanda and your team.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. This sounds surprising that you wake up in the morning and there's a wall that you didn't leave behind, and which wall comes to cut through your land. At least that's what our reporter has gone to see, which was said to him by some of your officers. What do you know about this, or what can you tell us about this?
So let me put the matter in its proper context. I assumed office as CEO of the Northern Development Authority sometime in March 2023. When I assumed office, I felt there was a need for us to, as it were, put modern offices on our land to start to prospect for investors. Then it dawned on me that there was a need for us to be sure that we had documentations. I checked through the office. I realized that we didn't have any leasehold interest on the land. We didn't have any documents on the land. Then I discussed with the board, and they said there was a need for us to apply to the Lands Commission for a lease. At least any investor that is coming showing interest would be interested in knowing whether you have title to your land. So I thought there was a need for us to clarify that one, and then take off that header and then proceed further. I applied to the Lands Commission, and the Lands Commission.
Mr. CEO, I'm losing you. I'm losing you.
I said the Lands Commission sometimes offer to us, offering the land to us for a leasehold interest of 50 years. In fact, there was an amount of almost 1 million cedis that was supposed to be paid by the NDA. The mobile the fund then gave to the Lands Commission. And then on the 24th of October 2024, the Lands Commission executed a lease in favor of the NDA for 1.2 acre land. As far as I am concerned, it's knowledge. Nobody has encroached on that land.
Okay, so our reporter is just in the studio now. He's reiterating what your officers had said. Director of what? Infrastructure, is it? Director of Infrastructure in your office, Dr. Emmanuel Berrier, who has said that there was a woman who approached your office sometime back asking for you to grant them thoroughfare through your property, which you granted, and now there's a huge wall in the middle of your compound, and that wall now separates the NDA offices from your septic tank and a few other installations. How do you have a wall separating your building or your property from your septic tank, and you say there's no encroachment?
All right, so at the time we applied to the Lands Commission, okay, I didn't know the extent. At the time, in fact, when they sent us the offer, they said they were offering us 1.2 acre land. And then we accepted that offer and paid a premium on 1.2 acre land. So as to how another person is, that one is for Lands Commission to explain, not NDA. As I know, and to the best of my knowledge, our land is intact. Our land is 1.2 acre. We're pleased on it. Dated 4th of October.
So I'm really having difficulties hearing. The line keeps breaking. I don't know if you're in motion. If you could kindly
so let me just stop.
Yes, I think that would be helpful. So while we do that, you are saying that there is no such encroachment. Clarify that further, please.
Yes, there is no such encroachment to the extent that what Land Commission offered us was a total land size of 1.2 acre. We have paid a premium on 1.2 acre land. That is what we have paid for. And we have our 1.2 acre land intact. After the fact that there's another person on the land, that is for Lands Commission really to answer, not us.
But did you sanction the construction of this wall? Did you know about the construction of the wall?
I don't need to sanction the construction of a wall that belongs to an alleged owner. One thing is that it shouldn't encroach on our land. In fact, when I heard about this, when I heard about the fact that they were erecting a wall, I was even the first one to tell the officers to stop, like to stop them. Then I asked my guys to just check around, be sure that nothing, there was no encroachment on our land. You see, so as far as I am concerned, and to the best of my knowledge, we have our 1.2 acre land intact. We have not given that land to anybody. We have not given our land to anybody. Our land is intact. So this idea of CEO and board chairman selling NDA land, I don't know where that one is coming from, because we haven't given our land to anybody. Our land is there. Our land is there. The lease is even with me. I had to go pick it. The lease is with me. It's dated 24th October 2024.
So this lease...
This thing was so close to elections, we decided not to even proceed with the JV that we had intended to do. It was close to election, and I knew that anytime, I'm a political person, I knew that if you tried anything like that, it may create all manner of problems. But I can assure you 101% that we have our land intact. No encroachment on our land. Last commission did 1.2 acre. We are on our 1.2 acre land. That is what I know about this issue.
Did the commission earlier give you 1.7, but which commission decided to reduce it to
1.7? The commission has never given us 1.7. They made an offer of 1.2. They have never given us 1.7. They have never given us 1.7.
So this wall that was erected, to the best of your knowledge, is simply the boundary to the end of your land.
Exactly what it is. Unless somebody has contrary information, contrary evidence that there's an encroachment on the 1.2. Otherwise, this is what it is.
But your workers or your staff are the ones who call the media to say that there's an encroachment. Why would your workers be saying one thing and you, the CEO, saying another thing? Because your head of infrastructure is the one who granted us the interview and said that your land is being encroached.
Okay, so that's what I told you from the onset, that at the time we applied for lease for the Lands Commission, I would never have known what the extent of our land was. But this is what they had offered to us, and that was what we accepted.
Now, I'm just saying that, so your workers did not know about this agreement you had with the Land Commission, because clearly your head of infrastructure should at least know about this. For him to say that he's surprised someone has built on it, which thing you have already agreed, that's a bit surprising. What's going on there?
I don't know whether he knew about it. Of course, he spoke to me, and I told him that what Land Commission offered us was 1.2. He spoke. Dr. Berega spoke to me, and I told him that what Land Commission had given to us was a land size of 1.2 acres, and as far as I was concerned, we were properly situated. Like there was no encroachment on our land. That's what I told him.
Very well. So now that your septic tank is outside your property, what do? Do you have to then dig it up, or cover it up, and build a new one in your wall or compound?
Well, that goes without saying anyway.
Very well. If you have time, kindly indulge me, because the Member of Parliament for Tamale North has called in. He said he has an intervention. I want you to hear him. If there's anything for you to respond to, I would appreciate it if you can do that for me.
All right, that's fine.
So kindly stay on the line. That's CEO of the Northern Development Authority, Sule Sambian. Alasan Suhini is NDC MP for Tamale North, is joined us on the line. Honorable, what intervention are you calling in on?
Well, thank you very much. And let me say good evening to you, good evening to Sule, and then to our listeners. I am scandalized listening to the CEO of the NDA, because available records that should also be available to the CEO indicates clearly that as of 2017, when the NPP government was taking over, the land size, which has become the subject of this conversation, was 1.714 acres. And for the CEO of NDA to reduce the size of the land in his submissions clearly points to what is similar to what has happened to other landed state properties. Sandra, you will recall that we had an issue with the what do you call it? Land that was also supposed to be for the Parks and Garden, and how one minister was of the view or suggestion that it had been sold to a private developer, and another minister was fighting that private developer because on their records it was still supposed to be for the state. I mean, these are some of the reasons why it is imperative that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama actually, goes by the promise of setting up an investigative committee to look into the way this government has handled landed properties, especially belonging to state agencies. I am scandalized that the records, which should be known to the CEO, clearly indicates that the land size for the NDA is 1.7. And yet, the CEO is suggesting to us that they only went for 1.2. But what happened to the rest?
But also, the CEO is saying that to the best of his knowledge, and let me say that this is a new office, and I think he's the first CEO of NDA, and he's saying to us that to the best of his knowledge and the office, they are entitled to 1.2 from the Lands Commission. So where is your 1.7 coming from?
That, in my view, amounts to some level of dereliction of duty, because if he goes through the document very well, unless he part of
Mr. Sambian, Honorable Suhini, just a second. Mr. Sambian, you're actually off air, so kindly hold on. When he's done, I'll let you make your submission. So, Honorable Suhini, please continue.
Yeah, so the point I'm making is that unless, of course, there is a deliberate grand scheme or agenda to, hive off a portion.
Also, so is there a document that shows somewhere that the land is supposed to be 1.7 and not 1.2? Do you have any facts to prove that? That's what I just wanted to get before we proceed. Hello? I think I've lost Honorable Suhini. Mr. Sambian, do I have you?
Sure, you do.
I think I inadvertently said you are the first CEO. I'm just being told you are the third CEO. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
but you can respond to the point that Suhini is raising.
In fact,
he said you were derelict.
Okay, sorry.
He said you were derelict in your actions for you to be claiming 1.2 acres when it should be 1.7.
I don't understand. I don't know why he means by I was derelict in my actions. I have applied for land. The grantor of the land has given the fee to give me a land size of 1.2. And I'm saying that I was derelict in that. Let it be known that all CEOs this land was granted to NDA, like the NDA office. Was granted in 2016 thereabout, 2016 thereabout. Nobody took steps to us to regularize our occupation on the land. Because when I came, that I decided there was a need for us to have documents on the land. And that was what I set out to do. So if there's anything at all, I think I should rather be praised for trying to regularize and stay on the land than to be criticized.
So there's not been any point where you saw any communication, whether either verbally or written, where you were told that your land is supposed to amount to 1.7 acres. And you can also say that the demarcation that has been done is accurate and it does not amount to us losing any land that should have been for you.
What I am saying simply is that I applied for a leasehold interest in that land. The body that is mandated by law to grant that leasehold interest is the Lands Commission. The Lands Commission wrote to me and indicated that they were making an offer of 1.2 acres of the land. I said, well, and then we needed to pay close to 1 million cedis for that land. I said, well, we'll take it. We'll pick it at almost 1 million. As far as I am concerned, to the best of my knowledge, we have our 1.2 acre land, which has documents to back that. What I have is 1.2. What I can talk to is 1.2. That's what the Lands Commission offered me, and that is what I picked.
Okay.
And that's what the authority picked.
So let me just ask Honorable Suhini if he has anything to prove to the contrary. Honorable Suhini, the man who went to apply to the Lands Commission says what he applied and what he was given is 1.2. Why are you insisting it might be 1.7? What do you know that we don't know?
Well, Sanda, I want to sympathize with Sule Sambian if indeed what he's saying is correct, and that he applied for the lease without knowing the actual land size for which lease he was seeking. Even though I still think that he should have checked the records before applying for the lease. If he did, he would have been able to challenge the Land Commission if they wrote back to him offering the 1.2. Because the NDA handing over notes of 2017, which I have, a copy of which I have, clearly indicated that the land size on which the office was situated was 1.714 acres. And so that document should be, with the authorities at the NDA. I sympathize with him because I agree that he is not the first CEO and may not have bothered to look at, the handing over notes. But these are records that I think he should be able to get from his estate people, especially when they were preparing him to write to the Lands Commission for the leases to be granted. And if he knew or he was properly briefed, if indeed he's not part of what I suspect is a grand scheme to hive off part of that land for private use, he would have been properly briefed with the documents, and he would have been in a position to challenge the Land Commission when they offered only 1.2 to lease.
Very well.
And that is what I find scandalous, and that is why I still think that, to some extent, even as I sympathize with the situation, if indeed he is speaking the truth, I still think that he may find himself in this situation where it is suspected that he is involved in a connivance to hive off part of the land because he perhaps was derelict in his duty at some point.
Thank you for speaking to us. Honorable Alasan Suhini is MP for Tamale North. Let me conclude with the CEO. Mr. Sambian, so do you know who is the new owner or who your new neighbor is?
Yes, there's one lady called Nanaya, something. Nanaya, I know her by that name, Nanaya.
And this is a private property, not state.
Sorry?
The person that this Nanaya person is owning that land as a private person, not for any state office.
I guess so, yes.
And this person, is this the same person who came to ask you to grant them her permission so they would have access to their property, the thoroughfare that was talked about earlier?
No. There was one lady who asked one lady, Felicia, something. I don't remember. I don't recall the surname.
Did you grant that person also the access route?
Sorry?
That person came to ask you for access to their property. Did you grant them?
Yes, we granted the person access, yes.
Which means that you keep reducing your land then, because you've given one person a access to use your land as thoroughfare. Now, Honorable Suhini is saying you've lost another 4 or 5 pointage acreage to this new neighbor of yours. That's what he's saying.
Oh, so regarding the thoroughfare, see, that's permission. They apparently, I'm sure it has to do with their scheme. I don't know how they plan the land. In fact, they plan the thing in such a way that the person does not have access. And then they said that they could not also grant us lease on the land unless we are able to grant access to the person.
And the Lands Commission is managing all these things. It is not your decision.
Exactly,
you didn't decide this in so much.
There was no way they could grant us a lease if we did not create a thoroughfare for the person, for the fellow.
I see. So, so where you are is public land, but now your neighbors are all private individuals. This Nanaya you mentioned and the Felicia you mentioned, they are your new neighbors, but they are not government people necessarily. Do you know whether they are politically exposed persons? Do you know anything about them?
I don't know. I don't know that for a fact.
Very well.
I don't know.
Very well. So for your workers who are listening to us tonight, who are saying that your land has been taken, what do you say to them?
Oh, I can only assure them that so long as I remain the CEO, it doesn't matter how long I'm going to be there, I will ensure that I protect the interests of the authority. That's for sure I will do.
would you also want to go and look through the books and check? Maybe there's a possibility your land actually extended to 1.7, but you possibly inadvertently thought it was 1.2 and accepted the 1.2 because that's the view of the Member of Parliament. Is there a possibility that maybe he thinks you didn't look through your handing over notes, and that if you did or spoken to your estate officers, you would have seen that your land is supposed to be 1.7?
I keep saying, when I wrote to the Lands Commission, I didn't give them a dimension of a land. I only told them that NDA, I gave the description of the land and said that we were here and that we needed them to offer us a lease.
Okay.
I didn't accompany that application with a plan to show that this was the size of our land.
But before you applied, there was already land which was occupied by NDA, which used to be SADA. So
exactly,
there's a possibility that your land could have actually extended to 1.7. That's what I'm asking, whether you would want to investigate
possible,
that.
Yeah, it's possible. I cannot rule that out completely. It's possible. But what I am also saying is that what my grantor offered me was what I picked. What I took.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Welcome, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you too. That's Sule Sambian. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Northern Development Authority, NDA. Their office opposite the U.S. Embassy in Accra, Cantonment to be specific, was supposed to have been a subject of encroachment earlier today when the staff there called us to come and observe the erection of a wall that has partitioned part of their land. The CEO says there's no encroachment. The new wall is actually a boundary between their land and the land of a private individual who owns that property now. The Honorable Suhini saying that it amounts to parceling and packaging and selling state land to private individuals. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Hawa, what else do you have for us?
The flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party for the 2024 general elections, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, has embarked on a pilgrimage to Mecca, the holiest city in Islam. According to Dr. Bawumia, the visit is a gesture of gratitude to Allah and an opportunity to pray for protection and guidance for Ghana. Dr. Bawumia was accompanied by his wife, Samira Bawumia, former Minister of Finance, Dr. Muhammad Amin Adam, former Minister for Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, and Member of Parliament for Tolon, Habib Idrisu. Now, the Osu Traditional Council has called on President John Dramani Mahama to take urgent steps to prevent the resurgence of power outages, commonly known as Dumso. The Traditional Council warned that such disruptions would have severe consequences for businesses and negatively impact the livelihoods of citizens across the nation. This comes amidst reports of fuel shortage for thermal power plants and delays in pipeline maintenance by the West Africa Gas Pipeline Company. Energy experts have cautioned that failure to address these issues promptly could further exacerbate the country's energy challenges. Speaking at a press conference, Ni Note Edumwa IV, the Osiahene, criticized the previous administration under ex-President Akufo-Addo for neglecting timely maintenance of energy infrastructure.
News. Be there as it happens.
Festive season is here. You know what that means. Groceries, bills, and so many unplanned expenses. But don't panic. There's a cool new feature on Haptel you have to know about. It's called Pay Small Small. Yes, like the name says, Pay Small Small. It's Ghana's first widely and instantly available buy now, Pay Small Small service. With Pay Small Small, you can buy food, groceries, airtime, and pay all your bills without paying the full amount upfront. So this festive season, you're sorted. Pay a small fraction of what you're buying now and spread the rest into 3 weekly payments. All you need is your Ghana card to activate it and you're set. It's the perfect solution to keep your pockets in check this festive season and beyond. So don't wait. Go to your Haptel app now and choose Pay Small Small as your payment option. Haptel is everything you.
It's
It's time to reset yourself and everything else around you for success in the new year. Tune in to the Effective Living Series 2025 this January on Channel 1 TV and 97.3 Citi FM. Start your year with insightful discussions and expert tips on personal growth, health, success, and more. From the 6th of January, join Apioko and Caleb Kuda engage our guests with various expertise on the Effective Living Series for a comprehensive guide to resetting your life in 2025. Week 1 kicks off with Personal Reset. Week 2 focuses on resetting your personal economy. Week 3 is all about resetting your health. Week 4, resetting business, calibrate, remodel, and rebuild. Catch the Effective Living Series live on the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 Citi FM and Breakfast Daily on Channel 1 TV, Monday through Thursday. Don't miss out on transforming your life for the better every week, only on Channel 1 TV and 97.3 Citi FM. The Effective Living Series 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV and 97.3 Citi FM and is proudly sponsored by Hallmark Cafe. Hallmark Cafe, delight in every sip and bite.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. My name is Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Details now. Economic analysts are calling on Dr. Kezela Tufosin, the Minister of Finance designate, to prioritize stakeholder engagement when he assumes office. They argue that fostering inclusivity in policy formulation is critical to achieving sustainable economic growth and addressing the nation's fiscal challenges. In an interview with Citi Business News, Director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the University of Ghana, Professor Peter Korte urged Dr. Atufosin to prioritize dialogue and inclusivity to help steer the economy towards stability and growth.
Quite remarkable, given that he's a finance and tax expert and has been with the Finance Ministry as a Deputy Minister of Finance. So I think he's well versed in the area. And given the fact that he was the then minority leader, I mean, we can attest to his level of the depth of his knowledge. But having said that, I think he also ought to go to that ministry and consult the technical people that are there, also engage stakeholders, as well as any decision he takes should be informed by research. Otherwise, if he goes there with the typical business as usual, where we engage in policies that are not informed by data, not informed by research, then policy reversals and failures might recur. We don't want to revisit the case of the e-levy and all other policies that were not very successful because of lack of consultation, lack of research to back what this is. But I believe he has the technical know-how, he has the educational background and experience as well. But as I said, he needs to consult a bit more, consult widely in some of the decisions he might be taking.
Professor Peter Korte is the Director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the University of Ghana. Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana, Professor Godfred Bokpin, has stated that the move by the new government to seek extra funding from the International Monetary Fund is a step in the right direction. He is, however, urging government to tread cautiously. This comes as Finance Minister designate Dr. Kezela Tufosin on Thursday disclosed that the government could seek extra funding from the IMF to cushion the economy. Professor Godfred Bokpin has been speaking to Citi Business News on the issue.
I would say it's a smart move, even though it is not that popular in Ghana to say you are looking for more loans or assistance from the IMF and the World Bank. But where we find ourselves, I think we don't have many options on the table immediately. Our gross financing needs in 2024 alone is over 54 billion cedis. Out of these 54 billion cedis, it is just 15 billion cedis that is coming from external support, coming from the IMF and the World Bank. So it means that we have a whopping 39 billion cedis that must be financed from the domestic market in terms of the short end of the yield curve. So what it means is that this is putting pressure on the short end of the yield curve, and this is not sustainable going forward. So I think the proposition is that if we are able to get more concessionary funding in the absence of access to the international capital market and the long-term funding even from the domestic market, then there are very limited options for turning around our balance sheet.
Professor Godfred Bokpin is an economist and professor of finance at the University of Ghana. Banks in Ghana are set to accelerate their shift from additional banking to digital services in 2025 and beyond. This is according to audit firm Deloitte, which highlights the increasing dominance of mobile banking, online platforms, and digital payment solutions in the sector. Here is more.
The report attributes this trend to the widespread use of mobile devices and growing internet penetration. It notes that traditional banks will ramp up investment in digital operations to meet rising consumer demand for convenience and efficiency, while also competing with agile financial technology firms. However, the report cautions that the expansion of digital banking services and reliance on IT infrastructure will heighten cybersecurity risk, presenting a key challenge for financial institutions. On the positive side, Deloitte maintains that digital banking can significantly lower operational costs for banks. It also aligns with government financial inclusion goals by improving access to banking for underserved and rural populations. The report adds that Ghana's banking sector is poised for substantial growth in 2025. This anticipation is not limited just to Ghana. The audit firm also projects similar trends in neighboring Nigeria.
Emmanuel Opon filed that report. Unregistered and unlicensed marketers of raw cashew nut risk prosecution during the 2025 crop season. This comes as the Tree Crops Development Authority has called on all operators in the sector to ensure their businesses are properly registered as the 2025 cashew season begins. There is more in the following reports by Daniel Sakiti.
In a statement, the Tree Crops Development Authority stressed that under Section 27 of the TCDA Act 2019 Act 1010 and Regulation 51 of the Tree Crops Regulation 2023 LI 2471, only registered and licensed individuals or entities are permitted to engage in marketing of raw cashew nuts. The authority has warned unregistered marketers to regularize their operations to avoid facing legal consequences. Further, the statement highlighted that in line with Regulation 29(2) of the Tree Crops Regulations, only Ghanaian citizens are authorized to aggregate and trade raw cashew nuts at farm gates and district levels. Foreign exporters involved in raw cashew nut aggregation and trading have been directed to cease such activities immediately and relocate to export warehouses. Additionally, the Tree Crops Development Authority announced a development levy of 91 Ghana cedis per ton of raw cashew nut for the 2025 crop season. Licensed exporters are required to pay 50% of their expected levies in advance to designated accounts at ADB Bank, Prudential Bank, or via TCDA's mobile money platform. The Chief Executive Officer of the Tree Crops Development Authority, William Ejapon Kwetu, underscored the importance of adherence to these regulations to streamline operations within the cashew industry and ensure compliance with Ghana's laws.
Daniel Sakiti filed that report. And that's it for City Business News on Eyewitness News. My name is Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Up next is Point Blank.
Detailed news, unparalleled coverage. City News on 97.3 FM.
Oh, jump on now. Go, the go. Ah, go me. And what time when you come back, we are not hear the sound of your car. Why you buy?
On Eyewitness News, Point Blank is brought to you by Kivu Pepe Moko Shiu. My name is Umaru Sandamado. Tonight on Point Blank, my guest was here for a year ago. He was very, very confident that the NDC was going to win. Even though he was not living here with us, he said things were hard and that he could feel it from Abrochiri. Tonight, the NDC has won, and he's asking me to give him his story. Conrad Zinenuba Dumba is the chairman of the National Democratic Congress branch in UK and Ireland. You're welcome to Point Blank.
Thank you, Maru.
How are you doing, sir?
I can't complain.
Your stone that I wanted to give to you, they've used it to go and level my road for me. So
oh, anyway, it's a better use for the stone.
Congratulations, right?
Yeah, congrats to all of us as Ghanaians. It was well deserved. It was the people of Ghana who spoke, not the NDC. The NDC only espoused what they felt the people of Ghana wanted, and the people of Ghana gave the mandate for us to deliver that. Failing which.
The people say that, okay, so they thought that the government would lose, but the magnitude of defeat is huge. Did you get the same feeling? Do you think you were going to be this comfortable in victory as a party when you were campaigning?
On the presidential side, I wasn't surprised. I expected President Mahama to hit 58%.
Okay.
57.7, if you round it up, if my basic arithmetic is still
80.
correct, it's 58. So pretty much there. On the parliamentary side, I was completely, my expectations were completely blown out of the water.
Well, you didn't see it this huge.
I didn't see that huge. I mean, probably about a mark of almost 20% more. I thought somewhere about 150 seats was reasonable, which would be good comfort, margin of comfort. And then you had another 30 plus extra. So that's another 20% plus that came on. But I think that Ghanaians spoke, and they spoke emphatically.
And the way they're speaking means that there are so many MPs who have to all be given jobs before the excess will be given to people like you, which means you won't get a job, because you are in UK. They haven't finished giving the people here, then they'll go and give you.
You see, when my wife is in labor, I'm not quite worried about which of us will be naming the child or mentioning the name of the child for the first time, even if it's agreed.
That's a proverb.
You see, so now we have birthed a new Ghana, and I think that it will take time. I think President Kufuor once said something. Well, the better one is even President Mills', not because I'm NDC, but it said your bus will arrive at different times of the day. Some in the morning, some in the afternoon, some in the evening. Bus in terms of appointment. But what's most important is how we support our party to succeed. President Mahama has been in power for barely 72 hours. There are great expectations, and I know CVs are flying around, more CVs in the air now than insects, if I may dare say.
Is yours part of the insects that are flying?
Unfortunately, I don't even remember the last time I looked at my CV. My focus was on get the job done. Job is done. Most of us are happy. And what we have seen so far, we're happy.
Is it starting well?
I think it started well. I'm quite cool with what I have seen so far. He
started by having a military ruler in Burkina come to his ceremony. People are saying that, no, that is wrong for our democracy. I mean, then he has other leaders, and he started off by traveling the sub-region and even going to the eastern part of the continent. People are saying that those were not, he should have stayed here.
I disagree with that. I mean, on two fronts. One is, from a diplomatic perspective, Burkina Faso borders us to the north, Togo borders us to the east, and Cote d'Ivoire to the west. Now, we look in one breath, we look at Burkina Faso and say that was a military takeover. But you had a constitutional coup d'etat in Cote d'Ivoire, where the constitution was changed for someone to do it. We even had West in Togo. Nobody's complaining about Yadema or complaining about our grandpa.
Fonya Singbe has been there since 2005.
Exactly, and keep changing the constitution and using all kinds of Mugabe tactics to stay there.
Who is your grandpa? Who are you referring to?
Monsieur Alan Ouattara.
Okay.
You know, so if you look at of course, it looks like the only democratic entity that borders Ghana is the Gulf of Guinea, which is the sea, where the fishes are there, say haven't got that leader. But around us, we've got this. It's pretty much the same thing. The difference is one went subtle, the other went there. And you look at the popularity. What do the people want? As Abraham Lincoln said, government of the people, for the people, by the people. For me, and I'll finish it with Deng Xiaoping's point. Doesn't matter the color of the cat as long as it can catch mice.
That's what that matters. So you see that this new colored mouse or this new colored cat called John Mahama number 2.
Yes.
would catch a lot of mice.
Dead sure. And he has actually started it.
The expectations are very high.
Expectations are high, and I think he's living up to those expectations. For example, I just came a couple of hours ago. I was with him at the National Mosque for the Thanksgiving, the Muslim one, and he was clear. He has already asked his executive secretary, Dr. Callistus, to write to the IGP on an update on investigations into the murders, election-related murders in 2020-2024. 5 recently, 8 then. I think the grieving families of those people want to hear that. And he has hinted that fair compensation, when Dr. Ayene, and congratulations to Honorable Dr. Ayene, my own senior brother and amicus, that when the Attorney General is in place, appropriate compensation will be given to the families of these young people who were cut down in their prime. I think that is good news. It should set a precedent that none of us, whether in government or opposition, should ever dream of taking someone's life in our quest for power. I think that's in the right direction. Let's look at the case of a portrait. A couple of years ago, the presidential portrait went out at a cost of almost 5 million Ghana cedis. What President Mahama and Professor Jane, our own mother, have done is take portraits that are already in the system and said, let's use that. That has cost us nothing. And he's charged all departments, print your own and place it there. We don't need even $1 to go to anyone from your current budget. I think that's an example.
By the same thing, if you are printing it in Jubilee and going to give to them, versus if you are asking them to print, it's the same printing there.
So what it means, I have a pot of 100 cedis, and you say to me, oh, okay, I'm supposed to use that for lunch. And then I come to you and say, oh, Charlie, we don't have any drink to go with it too. And you give me an extra 10 cedis. You've given me now 110. If you say to me, from my 100, get your water, I'll be forced to squeeze my meal. If I'm going to buy a full meal at 100, I'll bring it to 90 or 95 and then buy water with the difference. So I've saved the country the extra that was coming in.
What do you think should be Mahama's major priorities? What when you are listening to Ghanaians, both locally and abroad, what do you think were the big issues and which issues you would really want to see him tackling?
So I would like to use a very generic word and break it down. Good governance. Where good governance means serving the people, giving them their needs. And in giving them their needs, how we do it, the what and the how. The what is good governance. Making sure that all those villages we went through and the needs of the people across the length and breadth of the country. When myself and my team from the UK, over 100 of us, came in to support during the campaign, touring from the Upper West, Northern region, Western region, finishing off in the Ashanti region and playing polling agent roles there. What we were hearing from people, sometimes I was sad. Water, boreholes. How much does a borehole cost? Even if it's 75,000 Ghana cedis to get a borehole, or 50,000 Ghana cedis, it definitely less than 100,000 Ghana cedis to get a borehole for a whole community or section of a community. That is something that when Co-op was there, Community Water and Sanitation Projects, and the Ghana Water Company Limited, we should have fixed that then. And if we didn't, we should fix. So water for all should be there. Roads. I mean, Bole Bamboy, from my royal city of Wa coming to Accra, is a nightmare. Crossing from Bolga all the way to Wa is a nightmare. Even from Accra going up north, some parts are like death traps. So the road infrastructure, water, electricity, and that is going to help us with our 24-hour economy. Some parts of the village, you have lights, towns get to a point, it hasn't got to the rest. Let's get lights to all of them so that anybody there, if you have got water, if you've got electricity, voila, you can do pure water business. Easy. At the moment, if I'm in a cottage where I can see the lights but can't access it, the business opportunities are limited because of that. So the basic essentials, and of course, bringing down the cost of food, the main thing, particularly our local staples. We need to make sure we turn around our agriculture. And I know I'm looking very much forward to when the land banks, the farm banks are established. Who knows, some of us will be able to come in. Because all of us, we shouldn't be seeking government jobs. We shouldn't be seeking public service. There is more money in business than in government. If you are an honest government appointee, there's only modest remuneration. After all, it's called public service. But if you go and you plant cassava or you plant corn or cocoa, whatever you harvest and you sell, taking out taxes that go to government and your inputs, unlimited profits. There is a teeming youth in this country. We have the energies. What we need are those farms, the land banks. We know that land tenure system doesn't support large-scale agriculture. And I'm confident this is one of the things President Mahama is going to start to do after we have stabilized the economy to a certain extent.
Let's look at a few of the elements. So the roads you talk about, this government said they've built more roads than any government since independence. They said they used to brandish 10,000. Now the president, when he went to deliver the State of the Nation address, President former Akufo-Addo, said about 12,000 or so. I think that's the figure they are working with. And yet, building more roads would cost so much. Already, there are some infrastructure that this old government has left behind. Would you have the money to do all of that? Because looking at the roads you are thinking about, Bolga to Wa through the Sisala region, that is a Herculean task.
Interesting.
Doing the Fufusu to Wa road,
yes,
that's big. There's a view that we should dualize the central spine.
Correct.
We have been working on that forever. We've not finished. There's a dualization happening from the Winneba side in the central region. There's dualization attempted on the Adenta Dodowa road. And then there are interchanges that have been left behind. Do you have the money? Can you?
To an extent, yes. And I'll say why. When we went to the Western region, the impression we got was a massive construction site. Suddenly, in the last few months of election, the government started all kinds of road contracts. So presumably the money was there, otherwise they wouldn't have started. We will finish those roads. When we went to Sehwa, I hope I've pronounced it well, where the regional hospital, the Ashanti Regional Hospital, Sewa, correct. Pardon my pronunciation, I'm from far away, that's why.
It's fine.
We went to a particular, just a little village next to it, I would say village or town. And as we drove in and we're doing our campaign, and I do not kid you, you stumble on a road and then the coal tar on it peels off. The thickness of the road was like that. So there are loads of roads that have been built that deteriorate. Some of these roads we've talked about, even the from Chichulga Junction down towards Tumu. How many times has that road been constructed?
I don't think it's ever been constructed.
Sections of it, you drive through a lot and get to the middle, and the middle of it is constructed. From Tumu onwards out, from Chichulga Junction coming out, you get towards the Sicily Bridge area, and then that part is constructed. But the point I was going to make is, part of the funding would come from, if you like, the anti-corruption fight, making sure we have value for money in the roads we construct, and making sure when people construct roads that they've really done work, not pour gravel on and just pour some oil and stones on it and run over it. But the most important thing is, look, the last government came in and inherited a debt of 122 billion Ghana cedis and exited with somewhere in the neighborhood of over 750 billion. And I'm sure when all the chips are down and we have taken full stock, I can bet you on my last dollar it will exceed $1 billion because of lots of items that haven't been put into the basket. Look at the delta, 120 to 750, over 600 billion. Where is that all gone? What is our priority? We need roads if our agriculture is going to work. The road, one of the road, the shortest road from Bolga down to Wa, you come down and you go straight to Sandema. From Sandema, you go through the back road, Doninga, and you pop out at Welembele. From Doninga going, that whole area is a vast agricultural heartland. That's the Sala section. A lot of food gets stuck there and cannot be evacuated. And the road is even worse because in the rainy season or when there is harvest, these big trucks have to ply on that dirt road.
And the bridges will collapse.
Imagine we fix that road. That's more food coming from that hinterland, the farmlands, to metropolitan places like Navrongo, Bolga, Tamale, coming all the way down to Kumasi. So the cost of maize, which is a national staple for our kenke, for our banku, and all that stuff, a large amount of production of maize comes from there. So as we want to revolutionize agriculture, we need to prioritize roads. Yes, we can build roads to tourist sites. That's another one. But the belly, if I'm hungry here, you would probably hear the grumble from my tummy more than my voice. So the case for roads also equally is part of the case for feeding ourselves.
I haven't heard you mention the free senior high school. It was a big issue during the campaign. When you did your tour in your campaigns, what major thing do you think we should cure? And the free SHS debacle, how are we going to say people should pay? How can it be free if people are paying?
So I think President Mahama already had the solution. And this is something that happens in a lot of Western countries where free education exists, secondary school education. It's about building more day schools. Community day schools, that's the important word. Putting them in the community or clustering communities together and putting it somewhere within the community. And some people misunderstood that to be in the bush. Of course, when you walk from my village, my father's village to our mother's village, their neighboring village, but in between there is like a bush or a forest. So if they situate a school there, no one should tell us that that's the bush. Equidistance.
So halfway.
Halfway, basically. Once we build more day schools and quickly And that's one of the key priorities President Mahama will focus on. If we can mobilize and finish the remaining schools that were abandoned, we planned over 200. We haven't even hit 100. Assume we have another 100 completed, and most of them you can complete them within the next 6 months. It's a case of reprioritization. Remember when we took over from President Kufuor in 2009, we had a 4-year SHS program introduced with no provision for the facilities for the 4th year. Emergency facilities had to be mobilized to mop that up. So we need to do that ASAP. I don't believe that the next full year should start without still doing the traffic light system. We need to abolish that traffic light system in months, not in years.
Even when you're not ready?
Well, when I say in months, if it means that we should quickly finish off each E-block took about 1,200, 1,400 students. 100 of them, we just do the multiplication. 100 times that 1,000.
So the solution is in the E-blocks.
Complete those E-blocks and do more.
Since you are a blogger, international man, let's talk about the international side of things. What do you think should be our approach? Should we go and borrow more money?
I think it depends whether in the long term or in the short term. In the long term, in the short term, because we've just come, for example, we have to just go and buy some oil to stave off. You know the story. I don't want to go and belabor that particular point.
The power sector.
We can't say we are going to wait and collect the taxes that will come in at the end of January and use that. So we may have to go and borrow to be able to stabilize that. But in the long term, we need to look at how do we make sure we collect more revenue internally. Because in the end, loans are taxes.
So if you want...
The difference is a loan is a deferred tax in quotes. Okay. We are still going to pay for those loans using future taxes. So if you can get what you want as much as possible from the current taxes, closing of loopholes, clearing of nuisance taxes so that you can get more. And the simple example, remove e-levy.
Yes, which is what I was going to come to. You want money, the money that you are looking for, you are going to stop collecting, the e-levy, the betting tax. There are people who are saying consistently, analysts who are saying that do not scrap them, you need that money.
I disagree.
Or because you made a political campaign, you have to.
I think it's economic than political, because you see, the economists will tell you there are things called nuisance taxes. Taxes that piss you off. I'll give you a very classic example. When I came here in May last year, we were having conversations. I patronized Momo a lot. And when I looked at the end of my trip, how much I had paid in Momo charges, by the time I came back in December, and I stayed in December much longer than I stayed in May, guess what I did? I made sure I had my Ghana Commercial Bank card ready. I had my, facilities online and everything. And as much as possible, I was paying people through the bank. I was avoiding what? Momo.
Okay.
Because I was avoiding the e-levy, automatically avoiding Momo. When I pay into the bank, there might be a bank charge, but I was avoiding e-levy. What has that done? It means that the Momo industry, if I was one of 2 people in the entire Ghana who were responsible for Momo, it has gone down by 50% because of my behavior.
Okay.
If you scrap it, I'm going to go back. And I'm looking very much for it because it's very convenient. But if I send 10,000 Ghana and I'm looking at how much has gone out, and I send another 10,000 Ghana and I see how much has gone out, you can imagine how I would be upset and I will react naturally. So when President Mahama takes that out, trust me, I know that Momo transactions have increased, but they are increasing decreasingly, as the economists will say.
We have to go now, but who is your tip for Ghana ambassador to the UK or High Commissioner to the UK? Would you take up that job? Because your CV is not ready. Do you want to go?
Well, I'm not sure I am, would I say I am ready?
Okay.
In my own words. But I think President Mahama would make the best decision on who he thinks should represent him in any of the country, not just UK. Because we have several diaspora. We have the US chapter. They are here, and I say hello to their chairperson. We have many across the country. I think what President Mahama will do is look at it and decide, I want this relationship there. I want the UK to support in this area. Who do I think will best serve the interest? And I'm not sure if his decision says it's me. The next question would be whether it serves Ghana if for me to accept. And if I feel it is not serving Ghana, I will not.
Very well.
If I think it does, I'll do the national duty.
Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations once again.
Thank you. And a good evening to all your cherished listeners.
Good evening to you too. That's Conrad Zinenumba Dumba. I like your name. He's NDC chairman for UK and Ireland branch. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good night.
And wish you all the best.
Thanks.
Well, that would be it for Eyewitness News. This segment known as Point Blank, which is brought to you by Kivo Pepe Mokoshiu. My name is Umaru Sandamada. I did this with Hawa Idrisu. Production tonight by Kobina Wilson and Sami Biafi. Technical support from Desmond Nyako. Let me say that Manuel Ayama was also part of the content production for tonight. Edwin Kwakofi, Emmanuelos Owusu, and the new media team provided us support to stream to you live. We'll be back on Monday at 17:30 GMT. There will be a playback at midnight. Meanwhile, if you want more news and current affairs issues, 8 p.m. tonight on Channel 1 Television, Channel 1 Newsroom, you should make a date. And tomorrow, 9 a.m., Salom Kojo Adonu will be bringing you the big issue on Citi FM and Channel 1 Television. Up next, though, Benjamin Nketia, the head of sports here at Citi FM and Channel 1, is leading a powerful team of sports analysts and presenters to bring you the best and the most listened to sports program, Sports Panorama. It's been great coming your way. Catch you on Monday, inshallah. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
City News